Good morning, all. I want to welcome you here. I am Georgia Lovelady, and I'm your lay leader for this morning's service. For those who are new to UU's, we have lay leaders, which are members of the church, lead the service each week, and I'm that person today. We're going to start with announcements, and if there is anything that didn't make it into the weekly email, this is your time to speak up.
Hi, everyone. Last week, the board did send out an email about having people who are active members to respond to the bylaws and to gain access by clicking on a link to invite yourself to this page, this blog. It's come to my attention that if you did not click on that invite, it probably expired. So if that is the case and you still would like to go in and check out the bylaws and give your comments, just email me and I will take care of it so everyone gets a chance. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Anybody else? Welcome. As you are welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you are welcome here. With little children, or your partner, or alone. We joyfully welcome you here. You are welcome here as believer or doubter, as joiner or loner. You are welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not, full of energy or not, seeking a vision or a rest, you are welcome to join us here. And I'd like to read our acknowledgement of the Native peoples. We acknowledge that we are in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, Nez Perce, Blackfeet, Anishinaabe people who share the Helena Valley as hunting grounds. The indigenous story of the Helena Valley began long before the arrival of Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We honor the path that they have shown us in caring for this place for generations to come. We strive for justice and fair relations with their descendants. Christina's gonna light the chalice for us as we read together out of your order of service, the chalice lighting. We light this chalice in the darkness of winter as we wait. This temporary space is one filled with prayers to be answered, love to be given and received, miracles to be witnessed. May this light guide us until the light of the sun returns again. It's a little tricky. Or down. Thank you. I want to say before we do Judy's song in the winter, which I think is sort of hauntingly beautiful, that one of the sources that Unitarian Universalists draw from is spelled out as a spiritual teaching of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. And to be honest, I was feeling out of harmony with the rhythms of nature. And so today's service is sparked in part by how bothered I am by the gray skies, how little light there is. We're 1 week away from the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, and it gets dark quickly. I try to get out hiking most days, but it's hard to finish before the light goes flat. It's that odd light where contrast and shadows disappear. So in an effort to embrace the winter instead of shying away from it, I wanted to look at our wintertime rituals for this service. And now we're going to start in the Open Your Heart songbook, page 8, and we're going to sing In the Winter.
Hello. It's up
If
a
you
little
would-
higher than it has been.
You can stand if you're willing and able.
In the winter, when the snow falls and the rain falls, when the wind blows wild, in the winter, when the darkness falls and the wild goose calls from a land far away, I can hear her calling to me. I can hear her calling. You can be free. In the winter, when the sun's low and the ground's froze, way down deep, there's a message in the darkness. Life is a promise that the earth will keep. I can hear her calling to me. I can hear her calling. You can be free. You can be free. You can be free. In the winter, when the snow falls and the rain falls from a land far away, there's a message in the darkness. Life is a promise that the earth will keep. I can hear her calling to me. I can hear her calling.
Now's our time for the story for all ages, and Gemma's gonna read it to the kids. If there are any kids that want to come up front, any people young at heart can come up front. I'm gonna move all Judy's stuff.
Okay, let's do this thing. Oh, Lord, sorry, my bad. Okay. Oh, and you're coming too? Excellent. We have Snow People, Snow Party by Harriet Ziefert, illustrated by Mark Jones. Okay. Snow Party. Is my audio good? Okay. The snow had been falling quietly all night long. But by morning, a thick blanket of white covered the countryside. It seemed as if nothing existed in the world but beautiful snow. Suddenly, as if by magic, snow women, snowmen, and snow children began to appear. Some carried bags, some carried boxes. Here is a perfect spot, said a snow woman. The snow people began to work, stringing lights, setting up tables, and unpacking bags. What's in the box? A boy in a red cap asked. You'll see soon, said his mother. Sweeping the pond is hard, said a boy with a broom. Right, said his friend, but tonight is going to be so much fun. We're going to have a special party. You never stopped the pond, have you ever stopped the pond? I think it would be slippery. Everything was almost ready. The lights twinkled, the tables were set, the food was prepared, and the dance floor was ready. Oh, look. What are they doing out there? They are. Oh, and they have cake and everything? This looks like quite a feast. A cake made of ice. Today is the shortest day of the year. I bet it does. Icing, that's a good one. Today is the shortest day of the year, said a snowman wearing a top hat. This is when we celebrate the winter solstice, the first day of winter. And when the first snow of the year falls on the first day of winter, we have a snow party. Everyone clapped and cheered. Hooray for winter! Hooray for snow! Do you feel that way about winter? It's okay, you're done. The snow people ate. Oh look, there's a cake made of ice. Yes! That would be very cold for me, but I am not a snow person. And danced. Oh, that looks pretty fun. When the box was unwrapped, snow white butterflies emerged. They circled round and round the joyful snow people. Look at those. Exactly. They are butterfly snowflakes. And then the snow began to fall very quietly. The snow fell and fell. It was still falling as the partygoers packed up their belongings and went on their way. By morning, a new blanket of white covered the countryside. It was as if the snow people had never been there. But some of us know better. It's pretty fantastic. Thanks for coming and sitting with me. Are you going to go back to school and sing with Judy and Mara?
We're gonna sing the children out. So now I invite Gary Weens up to the microphone, and he's going to talk to us about why he pledges to Big Sky UU.
when I started to draft this little talk, my word processor offered an AI version. It mentioned all the usual stuff: inclusivity, open-mindedness, acceptance, community, and so on. It was pretty generic. Words you've heard many times, so I won't use anything beyond the opening sentence. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to take a moment to share with you why I've chosen to make a pledge to this fellowship and why this commitment is so meaningful to me. Okay, now these are my words. And I want to focus on the word community, but I'd like to go beyond that word and instead use the word family, because that's how I feel about my UU brothers and sisters. For example, I see my UU family when I buy vegetables at the farmer's market. I see my UU family when I attend the Grand Street performances, in the audience and on the stage. I see my UU family when I walk, run, and bike in the South Hills trails. I see my UU family when I ski at the Great Divide and on the Mac Pass cross-country trails. I see my UU family when I run in the turkey trot on Thanksgiving. I stand next to my UU family when I go to the Holter Museum art exhibits and I see their art on the walls. I see my UU family at the Helena Symphony. I see my UU family at Alive at 5 events in the summer. I see my UU family at Christmas concerts every December. I watch movies and attend live performances with my UU family at the Myrna Loy Center. I read interesting books and discuss them with the UU Book Club. I see my UU family walking and biking when I go to the post office and library downtown. I see my UU family when I buy bread at the Sunflower Bakery. These are just a few examples of the connectedness I feel with this fellowship, evidence of shared values and interests. It compels me to show up and to pledge. I encourage you to do the same. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Gary, and that's better than any AI could write. Now's the time for our offering, and I have asked Cheryl and Katie to bring the plates around. If you are new to us, please remain our guest because your presence is your gift to us. Saying thank you for your loving hands, which is on page 25 of the Open Your Heart songbook. Just stay seated. responsive reading out of the Singing the Living Tradition. It's number 543, and amazingly, it's titled Winter. I'm going to read the regular type, and if you would read the italics. I'll give everyone a minute to get there. Winter. Let us not wish away the winter. It is a season unto itself, not simply the way to spring. When the trees rest, growing no leaves, gathering no light, the events are silent, and trace themselves fidelity in the clarity and brilliance of the winter sky delight. The loom of fog softens edges, lulls the eyes and ears of the quiet, awakens by risk the unquiet. A low dark sky can snow, emblem of individuality, liberality, and aggregate power. Snow invites to contemplation and to sport. Winter dark tends to warm light, fire and candle. Winter cold to hugs and huddles. Winter want to gifts and sharing. Winter danger to visions, plans, and common endeavors. And the zest of narrow escapes. Winter tedium to merrymaking. Let us therefore praise winter, rich in beauty, challenge, and pregnant negativities. That's by Greta Crosby, and I don't know what pregnant negativities are. So I titled my message today, Reinventing the Winter Holidays. And another spark besides to look into this was the fact that for the first time we celebrated winter solstice in lieu of Christmas. And the we in that sentence is me and John, who was at the time my new boyfriend, and it was our first winter together. And since my kids are grown, it was an easy switch celebrating winter solstice. I think it's harder for families with kids. Borrowing from Meg Cox in the UU World magazine, she retells the joke, what is a UU? An atheist with kids. It's not news that new parents go in search of a church that mirrors their values that they can raise their kids in. Meg Cox continues to write, the good news about being a Unitarian Universalist is also the bad news. There is enormous freedom in how we practice our religion, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But we are often left to our own wobbly devices in doing so. We don't have handed down to us the carefully prescribed traditions of many other faiths, so we have to figure it out on our own, how to practice our Unitarian Universalist beliefs by incorporating them into our daily, weekly, and holiday traditions. For those of you who are new or not so new, this next piece of Unitarian Universalist history will be of interest because we did try to create a unique to us winter holiday. It was called Chalaka, and as the UA website puts it succinctly, in 2005, Chalaka emerged as a well-intentioned desire to have a new winter holiday organized around the UU principles. In the years that followed, however, UUs began voicing discomfort that the created holiday, celebrated over the course of 7 days, felt like a harmful appropriation of holidays like Kwanzaa and Hanukkah. In our own fellowship, it was Nikki that brought to light this new celebration that we didn't know about and did an excellent service on it. She included how she and Charlotte were lighting a candle every day for 7 days, reading one of the 7 UU principles, and engaging in an activity that was expressive of that principle. We had barely begun when we got the word that the National Association was discouraging its adoption. By 2023, the association had posted the request that congregations refrain from practicing Chalaka. In doing my research, it appears that fellowships are no longer banned from doing so, and they can proceed as they see fit. It was kind of nebulous. I did see Chalaka as a noble attempt to put meaning back into Christmas that wasn't Christ-centered or money-centered. So what does winter solstice have to offer? And what does winter offer? There's a Scandinavian practice of leaning into the winter months called hygge, but it is spelled Hygge, in case you ever run across it in print somewhere. It speaks to using the darkness to create warm light with candles, getting cozy, cuddling up with soft blankets, and quieting down instead of going full speed ahead. I have a friend who looks forward to the winter months for just that reason. Her garden is put to bed, camping and kayaking are over, and she can settle down to with quiet pursuits. So if I'm gonna follow her lead and lead into winter, I would include more reading, which I never make enough time for and often gets edged out by news articles. I would like to try adding creative writing in this winter. We have a lot of creative people at Big Sky UU, and for them, I think there's knitting and quilting and ceramics and painting. So as the winter months, seeing the winter months as an opportunity is helpful for me. I could even try chipping away at some non-time sensitive tasks like giving away stuff and connecting with my faraway friends. And to honor the UU principles, I think I should add in an intentional giving back to my community, which probably will end up being working on ballot initiatives and working with Indivisible Helena. And I think I just created a new to-do list. At my home, we're just beginning to figure out winter solstice. I do wholeheartedly embrace the coming of the light and marking the passing of the darkest, shortest day of the year. We turn on the gas fireplace almost every evening these days. We actually have a live tree that gives the house that smell of pine that I think is unconsciously primal. Traditional winter solstice practices include making a bonfire, doing a release ritual to get rid of what no longer serves you, and setting intentions for the new year. So on solstice day, John and I will sit outside by the outdoor fire chimney. We are not building a bonfire in the backyard. And we'll exchange gifts. John has promised guitar playing, and we will make a scrumptious dinner. And I think good food is always essential to a winter holiday. I like the idea of reinventing the holidays in a way that suits you. I live on Rodney Street, what my father used to call in the shadow of the churches. John remarked one day about the religious symbolism that surrounds my neighborhood. What with the Presbyterian churches across the street, I got a clear view of the lit up cathedral, and now we've got the Jewish center that has reclaimed their synagogue. And he said, "You ought to put your Buddha in the mix." And so we hauled the stone Buddha from the back garden and put it on the porch and threw some Christmas lights on it. And that makes me smile when I see it. Most of you know that Christmas Day was selected by early Christians for the day of Jesus' birth in order to coincide with the pagan celebration of winter solstice. And that was to get buy-in from the pagans they were trying to convert. And I'm not going to explain to you why the days get shorter and then they reversed. That science lesson got left on the cutting room floor when I edited this. So maybe Asher or some other brilliant child can explain it to us. I do want to share a Christmas story from my own family. This one happened about 12 years ago, and things were not going well for my family. I was married to Mike then, who suffered from depression, and my son Cole was going through drug treatment. 2 years before this Christmas, we had an exchange student named Jessica from Germany, and she stayed with us, and she was absolutely delightful. But she emailed me this Christmas, which is 2 years later, and said that she was back in the US again, working as an au pair in California for a family. and that family had decided not to take her with them when they did their holiday travel. And she didn't have the money to fly back to Germany to celebrate with her own family. Essentially, she would be alone on Christmas. And I knew what she was asking without asking. Could she spend the holidays with us? At the time, my husband Mike was suffering a bad bout of depression. The last time Jessica had seen Mike, he was telling goofy jokes and eating with gusto the sweet German confections her mother had sent. My son Cole, who stayed with Jessica's family in Germany, was actually in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where he was completing his drug rehab, and he would not be home for the holidays. I thought about but I still want to be intentional about my winter holidays, and I want to keep the best parts of the holidays, and I believe that Christmas is about connection and sharing and being together and good food and giving and making the inside world sparkly and to get outside in the snow. As I bring this to a close, I have to have one disclosure, which is John and I don't celebrate Christmas together because he's not here for Christmas. He spends it in the Teton skiing with his adult daughter because that is their family tradition. And also, I have my first grandbaby back in Virginia, and I suspect a lot of Christmases will now start centering around him. So we'll see how the winter holidays evolve. We're going to take a few moments of silence, and I'd like you to think about if there's any way you'd like to reinvent your holidays. Would anybody like to share?
Thanks, Georgia. We all need that. And the piece that I take out of it is remaining open to changing the evolution of our holidays. And so my family with young adults is celebrating Christmas in July in British Columbia. But I wavered in my commitment to do that because I so wanted to send my beloved son and partner a package for Christmas, just some cookies and some really light things. And it turned out that it was going to be over $400 to send it. So I had to message and just say, well, Christmas in July, you know. So it just keeps changing, and it will continue to do so. Thanks.
Thank you, Georgia. I find this to be a very timely message. I mean, obviously it's December, but you know, today's the first day of Hanukkah, and Karis has recently started expressing interest in her Jewish heritage. So I was like in the shower this morning, like brushing up on my Hebrew, and being like, okay, got to do the candles, got to get the whole thing set up, and you know, remembering that. But also, Eric has signed us up for having a solstice party for some friends of ours. And so I'm like, okay, he has this new cranberry tart he wants us to figure out how to make. Got to do a bonfire. We need a ritual. So it's a very dense holiday season for me this year, which hardly ever happens. I'm always like nothing. And so I appreciate the sort of intentionality and playfulness of thinking and imagining new rituals for the season. And I was so close to getting Eric to come today because I told him you were leading it, like almost happened.
Thank you, Georgia. This message is really hitting home this year with changes in my family. And it's not just reinventing, but for me this year there's been a lot of doubling down on the traditions that are important. Going out into the forest and collecting a live tree. Going to a Christmas tree farm was something I brought from my family in Florida that we did every year. And then when I started my family, we went and harvested our own tree since Miriam and I started dating. And then having our kids go out in the truck and pick out a tree. And this year's been definitely interesting in that I have half the ornaments. So to figure out, I have the best tree I've ever harvested this year and half the ornaments to go on it. And Gemma would probably appreciate this. It's missing its H.P. Lovecraft Christmas tree topper. And so trying to figure out how to move forward, but also keeping the things that are most near and dear in the traditions alive with my family. And there's a point where Finn was like, well, we're getting an artificial tree at Mom's house. And I'm like, that ain't happening with me. Try to justify it with like, you know, my $5 BLM permit would take me 60 years to pay off that artificial tree, and I'll be 100 years old. Let's do some math here, buddy. But I think beyond that, you know, Georgia, you really hit on something, speaking to the smell of having that fresh subalpine fir in your home, and then just finding the ways to rally your family around the things that are important. So that's really what this evoked for me.
Okay, I was hoping someone would bring up skiing, because that really is part of the magic of the holidays for me, but I didn't put it in my message. Because getting out in the woods, it just borders on spiritual for me. Even though the first trip out of finding gloves and ski poles, and it's an effort, and but then when I'm out there, I really love it. And I know John really loves skiing, but I'm not at his level, so he can ski with his daughter. Let's see. We are going to try a Yuletide carol here. It is 2:35 in your gray, blue, singing the living tradition. Karen has agreed to cantor for us, which I think means sing in tune.
Deck the hall with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la 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 la.
I thought I might read one more reading. If you want to read along, it's on page, it is 653. And it's called Reflections on the Resurgence of Joy. How short the daylight hours have now become, how gray the skies, how barren seem the trees. A damp and chilling wind has gripped my mind and made me gloomy too. But there is that in me which reaches up toward light and laughter, bells and carolers. And knows that my religious myth and dream of reborn joy and goodness must be true. Because it speaks the truth of older myths. That life returns to balance darkness, life surges in the evergreen and us. And babes are hope and saviors of the world, as miracles abound in common things. Rejoice and join in the gladness of Christmas. So I'm glad they didn't say the babe, they say the babes. And I do think children are just minor miracles, major miracles. Christina's gonna extinguish this chalice while we read our traditional chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. This is when we end the recording and allow